Hello everyone, today I'll be doing a solo Grandmaster run with Warlock. Here are the mods and fragments I'll be using in this video. For my kinetic, I'll be using Krait. Next I'll be using Monarque and SailSpy Pitchglass. This is the commentary video. If you just prefer no commentary at all, it's in the description below. I decided to try out the strand for this nightfall, mainly because I have never tried the strand subclass for this. I have in the past Arc, Void, probably Solar. So for the Warsat, I am going to do the mini cheese. I'm going to be using the throne emote. There is other emotes you can do, basically the ones that you're just sitting down. But I haven't fully tested it. Every season's always different, but for the throne emote, it seems to work decent. Now I did try the emote touch the grass just to have giggles, but it didn't work out. Tried 5 times, didn't work, so I had to just switch with this emote. So during this area, you can skip all the ads, and you don't really have to worry about the ship or how much % of the champions will spawn. Now in the past Master Nightfalls and Grandmaster, I have done the non-cheese method, but for this week I just want to get it done. Alright, this season has been a bit dry besides a dungeon, but I'm gonna talk more about dungeon another time because I'm a little annoyed with the health bar, and I'm hoping they will nerf it, but I don't think they will. Probably the last minute, the last week of the season, because that's the only problem I'm seeing of the dungeon. You can use this emote, and as I said before, I had tried touch the grass. It didn't work. Maybe it works in the opposite direction. I didn't really fully test it out. So I will do a mini time skip here, and then we're going to deal with the champions. Well, 3 of the champions. Once you complete the Warsat, then you have to deal with the 2 overload champions and the barrier the barrier servitor champion. So what I should have done here is use my linear first, then auto rifle, then let Monarque. I didn't really do that method in this video because, well, honestly, I was just really tired. I was exhausted. Too much work, life, all that goody stuff. And I'm trying to deal with this barrier champion, but then this overload keeps interrupting me and also interrupting my commentary. I swear I am going to just stagger this overload champion. Excuse me. Let me deal with the barrier champions. Alright, so now I am going to be dealing with the overload champions. They're going to be teleporting left and right. And then we got this overload champion from the back shooting this solar and pretty much shooting very precisely, which is why I recommend going for 2 arc resilience and 1 little solar resilience, because the boss can shoot solar. And then this overload can sometimes bother you and mess up your DPS. So another method you can do is, if you want a more faster run, you could just combo it with Monarque. I didn't really do it in this video. Not so much. I just took my sweet time. You can also stagger the second overload champion if he is bothering you, if he is spamming a lot of solar and always getting in your way. You can also do that. So one thing that you can do with the strand Warlock is you can shackle, or in other words, throw your grenade and your overload champion will float. Now the problem with this method is that sometimes when the overload champion stops floating, and you're trying to stagger the champion again, it won't work and it will teleport. Now, it doesn't really have this weird odd bug or this weird issue with the Monarque, but I've been having this issue with the scout rifle. I was using a scout rifle instead of Monarque and trying to use a different exotic to make it interesting. But unfortunately, it didn't work out. It looked like I had to be a Arc or a Void Warlock to make it work, because it kept bugging out. It kept being extremely complicated where it was just not worth it. So then I switched to Monarque and then finally got it done for this nightfall. There will be explosive shanks and there will be a couple ads. Here I just want to take down the explosive shanks before they push. Now depending how many ads you kill, there will be spawn of Fallens that will spawn behind you, so just be extremely careful. Here I wasn't being careful, so I should have deal with the shanks around this spot here instead of that area. So silly me, my bad for that. You can also use your super, but the problem of me using my super for this one, I noticed, didn't know by the way, because I never done this nightfall on Strand Warlocks and Strand subclasses. Pretty new. So when I was using the Strand subclass, your Warlock floats a little bit. And I was trying to see if I can deal with the Overload champions. And then sometimes my super doesn't really do DPS with the Overload champion. Even though it looks like a direct hit, but for some reason the game says, nah, let's try again. So weird things like that can happen. And it's all good, you know, no one's perfect. So probably next time I'll pop a Healing Rift and then get a little bit more closer to the ads so my super can actually detect. I can tell my super to take down these ads, not this one. Or take down this champion, not the ads. Focus on this one, not the ads. But, or in other words, not the Fallens or the snipers so much. You can also save your super, by the way, if you do want to take down a bigger champion. See, the problem over here, you see, is maybe I should just wait for my super. Well, hold on my super and then use it on this section. Because the problem over here is the baby barrier or the barrier champion is going to be a bungee, right? It's going to be a bungee and immune the Overload champion and then these snipers and these Arc Seeker Fallens. You can also shackle and throw your grenade to do precision shots with a linear. Now the reason why I'm using a linear fusion is because, well, I'll tell you why. This week the surges is Strand and Arc. If you're using Monarque or any Void weapons, make sure you are using double Void surges. Because the artifact mod for this season is almost similar as Charge Counter, where when you stagger champions, you will get armor charge, which is perfect for doing DPS, especially using surges. Alright, so the biggest mistake here is I accidentally put Arc Surge instead of Void Surge. If it is Arc Surge this week, you will always get 25%, and I don't think it stacks, to be honest. I don't think it does at all. I don't know why Bungie made it so complicated with these overcharge kinetics, these surges this week, all these goody stuff. I just wish they could make it less complicated, but we'll talk about that in another video or another time of that rant. So make sure you put double void. So the first void surge is 10%. I hope I'm right. If not, I apologize. You know, it used to be high energy fire. Remember high energy fire? Oh my goodness, those were the good times. But now they have these surges that you had to stack to do more DPS. Sorry, I'm gonna calm down. And first void is 10%. And I think the second one is 15%, maybe a little bit more. So, or is 12%. You know, I don't have my notes at the moment. You know, the mods is still new. So make sure you put double void or triple the void so you can get 20% or more. So if you're using Le Monarque or if you are using a void linear, and probably the next video, spoiler alert, I'm probably going to use a void linear with a different character. Spoiler alert. I'm thinking about it, not really sure. So now the biggest mistake here is I haven't counted how many times you need to do DPS on this charge. See, when you break it, you spawn the 2 overload champions from the back. My plan was to break the arc charge, right? Pull back and then deal with the overload champions. See, the problem is that I'm used to using a scout rifle. I never really use a bow so much, you know, of shooting that arc charge. And because of that, and I made mistakes, my bad, I had to go for plan B, and I don't really like plan B. I prefer plan A, but it's alright, you know, I'm not perfect. Because I want to deal with the 2 overload champions. And then once I do that, I clear ads, and then I should be done like less than a minute or a minute. Instead of taking 3 minutes of my life, or 4 minutes or more. So this was probably the biggest mistake here, but you know, no one's perfect. I wanted to pull back to deal with the spawns of the Overload 2 champions, because 2 of the Overload champions spawn from the backside, where previously you enter. And I wasn't fast enough, well, not fast enough, but I would say that I couldn't see if the arc charge broke, because sometimes it has this weird sound where you break it, but it's not broken. And you can see, perfect example. So over here, I was trying to use my super. I was telling my super, overload champion, right here, but my super didn't really do so much. So what I should have done here is just, you know, do DPS at the overload champion from the left side, and then use my super there, because the strand Warlock, for some reason, it wasn't detecting the super. So my bad for that. Or another thing that could have happened, which I didn't know because I never done the strand Warlock on this nightfall, is maybe my minions, the threatening needles, or the minions, maybe they fell down from the pit and it messed up my super, which I didn't know. Alright. But you can see a perfect example that it is not void search this week, but if you're using void search, highly recommend to put as much as you can. I didn't do it here, so I only put 1. I wanted to put 2 for my video, but my bad. Once we clear the ads and I waste 3 minutes of my life, you know, could have made it more easier for myself, but mistakes can happen. I'm gonna go down and we're gonna deal with the heavy arc charge. Now, funny story, alright. So I forgot that these shanks are snipers. So what happened here on my first attempt is these snipers, both of them shot at the same time, and I got 1 shot, which is pretty hilarious, by the way. Just make sure you use your linear or your Le Monarque. I couldn't really see. Maybe it's just me. It was just so bright. And then my glasses, right? It was starting to get foggy for some reason, which I didn't know. You guys didn't tell me that. For the people wearing glasses, you didn't tell me that I should get anti-fog on my glasses. A lesson learned for that. If you're gaming, make sure you put anti-fog for your glasses, so things like this won't happen. Or if you're working outside, same thing. So I was trying to deal with this shank. It was just being complicated. Please, just make it less stressful. I just want to get this done. So when I was doing the overcharge method, I was trying to shackle the explosive shank, but it didn't work. I shanked the non-explosive shank. Then I had to pull back and make these explosive shanks run away so I can dunk the heavy orb. I forgot that the explosive shanks can walk away if you enter the previous entrance. So you can see here, you just slide, you wait, and then you slide again quickly, and then you just move from this side, and then you wait a little while. You can also drop the heavy charge, but not too long. So I was trying to shackle the explosive shanks, and what happened here is they pulled back. So once I shackle that shank, I quickly dash or slide with the Warlock and then dunk the heavy orb. It did work out great, but if you do see the explosive shanks, just throw a shackle at them, and then once you do, you could just dunk the heavy orb. Now over here, I decided to use my super and pull back. You know, I don't want to deal with these cheap, unfair Arc Seekers. Now we're going to be dealing with more Overload champions. So usually what I do is I like to deal with the barrier champion first. But unfortunately, it didn't work out in this video. Maybe if I was on an Arc or Void Warlock, maybe it would work out and I would just take down the barrier champion quickly. So I don't have to deal too much of the infinite adds. There's always 2 waves of infinite adds where you have to deal with the explosive shanks, and once you deal with one of the champions, I would say take down the barrier if you can. If not, the overload if it is away from the barrier champion. They're going to deal with infinite amount of adds of Fallens. They're going to try their best to melee you. Now the one thing I notice is sometimes the overload champions can get extremely aggressive, and then you have these Fallens shooting solar at you, and then the overload champion. So you can see over here, I'm in a tough spot. So what you do here is just throw a shackle grenade so you can stop these Fallen shooting solar, and always remember to pop your healing rift so you can deal with these gold bar Fallen adds. So now what I'm trying to do here is deal with the sniper shanks, all these goodie adds, and then try my best to deal with the overload champion. So I am using the auto rifle Krait. It's an okay weapon. I don't have the best auto rifle. You can also use an auto rifle with Whoopa weapon. That also works great on auto rifles. So that's one thing you can use if you don't have Krait. You can use a auto rifle with Whoopa weapon. So that's another option you can use. There is also an auto rifle. Maybe I haven't fully checked, but I'm sure there is an auto rifle that has the adaptive. Maybe. Not sure. I haven't really fully checked on Light GG, the new auto rifles, or the previous last season auto rifles. But always remember, when dealing with the overload champion, try your best to use your linear. That way this won't happen. And I do apologize, but the range on console is a nightmare. And this guy's gonna teleport left and right. So my plan was actually staggering the overload, the barrier champion, then use my super. So what happened over here is that I was going to use my super, but because the overload champion was being a bungee, you know, it's like, get away from my barrier champion. It started to get aggressive. Not only aggressive, it tried to kill me. It tried to spam its solar at me, like over here. You can see this overload champion is being extremely aggressive. I had no choice, by the way, but I had to use my super. But you can see that my Warlock, by the way, my super got messed up because of this tunnel, which I didn't know, by the way. So if you want to use your super, especially strong Warlock, you have to use your super outside the tunnel. isn't that great because for some reason the super sometimes doesn't want to do DPS in the Overload Champion. And then your Warlock will float, alright? Like, I didn't jump. It was just a super making my Warlock float, which I don't want it to do that, but it does it anyway. Or you could just switch to Arc Warlock and then just use Chaos Reach, which that could work much more better than a Strand Warlock. So now I'm going to be dealing with the Overload Champion. Is it a great? I used my super, didn't really do so much because I was in the tunnel. So lesson learned. Use your super for the Strand Warlock. Avoid tunnels. And try your best to use your Healing Rift and then use your super. Just in case weird things happen, like you saw the Overload Champion teleporting, getting aggressive, and then trying to two-shot you with the solar. See, this is one of the reasons why I say you must have 2 arc resilience on your chest plate and 1 solar. Because little things like that can happen and it can mess up your run. And I don't want that to happen to anyone having this bad experience. Even for a fire team, you have to be very cautious and see what the Overload Champion is doing. So another thing what I could have done in that situation is I could have also popped my Healing Rift and then throw Shackle at the Overload Champion to stop from it trying to two-shot me. That was another method I could have done, but I didn't. I decided just to pull back, just to be safe. But that is also plan A of what you can do. If you want to take down the Barrier Champion right away, you can just simply throw Shackle. So this is when things get annoyed. So I was actually having trouble with this Barrier Champion. This guy was not cooperating to the point where I was losing my patience. And once again, the tunnel messed up my super on Warlock. Great. If only I was Chaos Reach or Void Warlock, you know, this wouldn't happen, but you can see the frustration of using a auto rifle. And there's really not a lot of auto rifles to use besides the one with weapon. And then this Barrier Champion decided to be Bungie and say, nah, Blitz, I'm gonna go from the left side and regenerate my health. Like, that is the most stressful, annoying thing I have ever seen. And this is one of the reasons why you must take down the Barrier Champion fast. See, for me, I was having trouble because I was running out of linear. And because of this, now I'm gonna have some issues dealing with the snipers. Someone will argue and say, well, Blitz, why not clear all the ads and then deal with the champion? Yeah, about that. Well, what I should have done here is I should have staggered the Barrier Champion because I did not know that the super was going to get messed up from this tunnel over here. I didn't know for the Strand Warlock. That had no idea, didn't know. And I could have staggered the Overload Champ, well, the Barrier Champion, or shackle it, and then deal with these snipers. Well, actually stagger the barrier and then deal with the snipers, because the snipers are the one that's messing up my DPS with the Barrier Champion. And the reason why I don't recommend you clear all the ads and then deal with the Barrier Champion last is because this barrier, he is going to float all the way from the left side. And remember those 3 Overload Champions you guys despise? Well, imagine this Barrier Champion immuning, shielding 3 Overload Champions. And then you have the Arc Seeker Overload Champion shooting at you, a Arc Overload Champion, and then a Solar Overload Champion shooting at the same time with a hint of Void shooting you from the Barrier Champion. And this is why I recommend you take down the Barrier Champion as fast as you can and try not to clear all the fallen ads, because he's going to float all the way from the left side. If you don't believe me, because I know someone's like, oh, I don't believe you, Blitz, that's ridiculous. Well, if you look at my old videos, he did it on my Titan. It was on my Titan or my Warlock. I don't remember which one was it. But he did it, and it was the worst experience I ever had in this Nightfall. It was so stressful, I couldn't believe it. So now we're going to be dealing with 3 Overload champions, and this is one of the reasons why I use the Monarque. I used it because I want to deal and have an easier time with these Overload champions because they are such a pain in the bungee, alright? And I just don't like them. They're just so complicated. Like, why did they put 3 Overload champions here? You can also use your super, so if you have a chance to have your super, just use it. Make life easier. So, use your super. And for some reason, for this nightfall, tunnels is your worst enemy if you are going for the Strand Warlock. I do recommend trying out the Arc Warlock, because the Arc Warlock with the exotic boots, Geomag, will help you out dealing with the Overload champions and DPS, especially for the boss fight. Now, I didn't really use the Arc Warlock because I used it so many times. That's why. I know this season, Chaos Reach is better than ever than the previous seasons. Yes, I know that. I know that. It's just that I wanted to try out the Strand Warlock on this nightfall because I've never done it before. Alright, it's just something new. Something new for me. Alright, so for this one, make sure you float away from the wall. There is a bug where you can get one shot. There's this weird glitch. So hug the left side and try not to touch that wall. Because on your Warlock, Titan, or Hunter, if you hug the right wall, you will get a bug. I would say it happens 80%. And you will die. And you don't want that to happen. So in my experience, I always just hug from the left and try to jump away from that wall. So now we're going to be dealing with the boss fight. This is going to be fun, right? So this is going to be the boss. It's going to be 3 phases. Well, I would say 3 phases and a half. Because there is a phase where the boss will go Stormcaller, go Cuckoo for Bungie. Alright. So make sure you use your super. Make sure you do DPS. If you have a linear, just use your linear. I don't know why I didn't use my linear here. I think I was just too focused on where the boss was going to be floating. You can actually manipulate the boss from left and right from these pillar walls. And make sure he doesn't go upstairs. And make sure he doesn't get too close to you on this platform as well. You'll see very soon I'm talking about where I'm trying to manipulate the boss. And if he's going too much at the left side, then I move from the right side. You can see here, he's moving too much to my safe bubble spot. So I'm going to move over here, make him move from the right, and he's moving way too close to me. Then I go from the left side. So this is probably the best way to manipulate the boss and to make sure he doesn't mess with you. Now always take cover when doing DPS because this boss, right, has a sniper. And he uses the solar sniper. Now back in the day, the solar sniper can one-shot you. I'm not sure for this season. I haven't got sniped by the boss. But back in the day, this boss used to one-shot you when Grandmasters was new. And I remember the Arc also can two-shot you. So it was much worse. But I know this season is just, you know, with the power of resilience and more Arc resilience, you know, it can really help you out dealing with the final boss. Now we're going to be dealing with the barrier champion, but the boss right now in his cocoon or his resting phase, he can still snipe you with the solar. So always take cover and then do DPS at the boss. See, the reason why I didn't use my linear is because I'm saving it to do DPS on the second phase. The second phase is where it's not the hardest, but I would recommend trying your best to do as much DPS as you can. Then once it is on the cocoon mode or resting mode, you must deal with the snipers that will spawn quickly. Because if you don't take down the shank snipers that will spawn after the boss is on his immune phase, then their barrier champion is going to immune the shanks. And it's going to be a nightmare dealing with the barrier champion. So right now, this is the second phase, so always use your super at the boss. Don't use it on the barrier champion, it's not worth it. So just always save your super doing DPS at the boss. It just works better. You know, you can manipulate the boss. You won't be too distracted, especially with these shanks shooting you. So take your time. Take down the shank. Always see where the boss is going. And you can do precision shots at the boss. So I saw the boss going way too close to me on the left side. So I decided to stand over here, make him move, throw shackle, and make sure he doesn't snipe me. Because he could still snipe me with the solar. So just always remember to hide and shoot. And make sure you see where the boss is. Because you don't want him too close to you where he can one-shot you. Well, I would say 2-shot. I haven't tested out fully. So just be very careful with the boss. You can also use your emote if you don't know where the boss is. Or if you're having trouble of trying to track where the boss is floating. So just make sure you do DPS. And then this is the phase where you need to take down the snipers. So make sure you take down the snipers. So then there's going to be a barrier champion and then snipers. So the snipers you see will spawn, so take them down quickly. Don't mess about. If you don't, the boss, well, the barrier champion is going to immune them and it's going to be a nightmare. Just remember that the boss can still snipe you with the solar, so always take cover when doing DPS. Right now, I'm just trying to dodge the arc. You know, I'm trying to do the movement method where I'm just going left and right. That's why sometimes you notice that when they are shooting arc at me, it doesn't really touch my guardian or does less damage than just standing still. So now I'm going to be dealing with the shanks. I'm trying to do DPS, but as I said before, always just use your linear first and then switch to an auto rifle. And I keep forgetting that method because I barely use auto rifles. You know, it's been a long time since I used a auto rifle on nightfalls, you know. I'm just used to using a scout, probably a pulse rifle if it has the adapted mod. But yeah, make sure you take down the barrier and just take him down. And then once we take down this barrier champion, this is going to be great. You know, you're going to love this. We're going to be moving to a different spot because during this phase is when you need to move or the electric or where you're standing previously is going to one-shot you. So I quickly move. And then this is when the boss is not going to use his sniper, which is the good news. The bad news is that he's going to send reinforcements, exploder shanks or explosive shanks, and he's going to shoot void at you. But the good news is if you stay at this spot, he's just going to stay in this spot and just shoot void mindlessly. Make sure you take down the shanks, and it's going to be infinite amount of shanks for just 2 minutes. So you can actually wait for your super, right? And while you're waiting for your super, you can just take down these shanks, right? And then once they're all gone, then you can take your sweet time dealing with the final boss. So that's what I'm doing over here, by the way. So make sure you take down all the shanks first and then wait for your super. So I'm going to do a mini time skip here, by the way. Once I took down all the shanks, I think I missed one. I think one was hiding and I wasn't paying attention. So always be careful. Always be careful with the explosive shanks. So I'm going to be dealing with the boss doing DPS. If you look really closely at the health bar, you see a little line. So that line is when the boss is going to go a psychopathic maniac and he's going to go Stormcaller on you. So he's going to turn all electrical and he is going to try to take you back to orbit. And you must use your super when he is on Stormcaller mode or psychopathic mode. And always pop your healing rip and use all your linear heavy as much as you can. So you'll see very soon that I will pop a healing rift, I will use my super, and I will shackle the boss. So you can see I'm gonna use my super and then explosive shank. If you guys notice, I missed one explosive shank, so my bad, and I'm touching grass as well. So yay for that. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.